Hey, welcome back to those of you who have been following along with my caliper painting and stainless steel brake line installation videos. The third part is going to be flushing the brake fluid. So that's what I'm going to do now using a motive speed bleeder. Let me show you how to do that on the Porsche Boxster. First, another shot of the pretty new calipers, stainless steel brake lines back there. The tools we're going to use are a motive pressure bleeder. So that is going to push the brake fluid through the fluid reservoir into and out of our system so as to not get any air in the lines. This is a cool little product that is magnetic that we're going to use that you can stick straight on your rotor there and attach to your calipers to collect the old brake fluid. Of course, we're going to need some new brake fluid. Never know when you're going to need a screwdriver. And an 11 millimeter, and very important, you need one shaped like this so that it will grab the threads up here without stripping them. If you try to use a regular wrench, it only has 2 points of contact and it can strip them. So definitely get this. Some people call it a line wrench, but more commonly a flare nut wrench. So just a really quick overview before we get started. If you can lift the whole car up and take all of the wheels off, like I did, that's preferable, or you can do it one wheel at a time. The order that you're going to need to do it is the right rear, then the left rear on the other side, the right front, and then the left front, because you want to get the lines that are furthest away from where your brake fluid is stored to push all of the old fluid out, so you're not getting any of the old fluid coming out of there. So if you're going to do it one wheel at a time, you're going to start back here, jack this one up, take your wheel off, and we can get started. We're going to start with a little bit of prep work under your front hood. So this is where your brake fluid is stored, the reservoir. So we're going to take the lid off, and as you'll see, there's a little filter basket in here, which I noticed mine seems to have a hole in it. So I'm going to end up replacing this. Some people leave this in here to do it if they have a motive pressure bleeder. Other people say the screen can cause bubbles, even if you're using a pressure bleeder once you're pushing the fluid through there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it, although some people don't, like I said. As you can see, I've tried to take some preparations by putting some towels and stuff around to protect things when I try to remove this, because I heard it pops out really hard and can splash some brake fluid around. Yep, so apparently you just got to grab it and pull really hard and it will come out. Mine is damaged. I'm going to replace that, so just set yours aside. If you have not just taken your calipers apart and gotten all kinds of air in the line, I'm sure that there would be fluid in here that you would normally want to take like a little turkey baster type tool to pull out all of the old fluid and put some more new fluid in instead, so that you have less old fluid that you're pushing through there. But mine is empty. So since I know that there's going to be a lot of air in the lines, I'm going to have to push a lot of extra fluid in, more than typical. So I'm going to open my bottle. A little trick I was taught was to use a clean flathead screwdriver and poke a little medium-sized hole here and a little vent hole up here to help us pour this. Now, in a semi-controlled fashion, I don't know if you can see that, but I can aim where this is going now and not spill it everywhere. So I'm gonna fill my reservoir about halfway up. Now I'm going to open my second bottle. I still have about half of the first one. And just do the same thing here. Make a little bigger hole though, because I'm going to pour the whole bottle into the bleeder here. So, all right, now we can put the top on and screw it down tight. All right, that is tight. Now this end, I got the, I guess it's the professional version where it spins freely here. There's another black version as well, where this is just a solid connection. So when you turn it, it turns the whole tube, which isn't a big deal, but you got to make sure that this black rubber seal is in here to make the tight connection. And this is the European adapter for the Porsche. Okay, with our fluid in the bottle still on the ground, this hose is long enough to reach up to the top. We're going to take this and screw it on nice and firmly to get a good airtight seal. And then a little pressure gauge up front, and we want to pump this up to 20 psi. So what I'm going to do, so I'm going to start pumping. And as you start pumping, you can see that it's going to start pushing the fluid up there into the reservoir. Okay, we're up to 20 psi now. All right, and like I said, we're going to start on our right rear. So, let's put this a little closer. So it has two sides, which is convenient. So when you take this off, you can put it, it's kind of like a drip cap, so it'll drip back into the bottle when you're done. And we're always going to start on the side furthest in. So we're going to put our, make sure you can see this. So we're going to open the little plastic cap and then just slide the hose over the bleed nipple there, so it's nice and snug. And then we're going to take our wrench and loosen this right here. And as soon as you loosen it, the pressure is going to start pushing the fluid through our hose here. So it doesn't take much, just a little bit of loosening. And our fluid is coming through. And as you can see, there's a ton of air in the system. So if you did not take all your stuff apart, hopefully you're not seeing that, or something was going on wrong before that. So we're going to let a bunch of air come out and old fluid. All right, so there's still some air coming out. Lots of air. Another thing that was suggested to me, if you have done this and have a lot of air, to take a rubber mallet, tap on this, because there's probably some air sticking around. Okay, now you want to come in here and push your brake pedal in slowly. Let me see if I can get this down here. Push your brake pedal in slowly, just about halfway down. And then repeat this about 5 times. It's helping to get more air out of our system and the brake fluid out of the master cylinder. All right. Okay, and then we're just gonna tighten this back up. And you want it to be firm, but not super tight so you break anything. Then you can squeeze this tube here, pinch it to make sure that fluid isn't coming out when you take it off. Then unpinch it. The rest will drain into here. And then you can put that in back there. And we did one side, so now I'm gonna connect this over here to this side and do the same thing. Okay, so a lot of these plastic covers on mine are super tight and hard to get off, so I use a little flathead screwdriver to cheat and pry the corner off a little bit so I can get that out of the way. Put that back on. And loosen this side. There we go. Now this outside shouldn't take as long because hopefully we've bled the entire line coming up to it, and now we're just bleeding the part that's in here really, and see if there's any more air trapped in here. Nope, there's a little bubble. Okay. Tighten him. Pinch it off. And there we go. Now we're going to move over to the left rear side. So after doing just one, you can see that I'm down to 17 PSI. So I will pump this back up a little bit, get it back to 20, but also check on your fluid level. So my fluid is almost empty already. So I'm going to relieve the pressure on this by unscrewing this a little bit. So all of this extra will drain back in here, and then I'll add some more fluid, pump it back up to 20 again, and keep going. Just enough to let it start coming down. And you'll see all of our fluid come back in. think I underestimated how much fluid had leaked out while I was changing this, and I probably need to get another bottle or two of our brake fluid in order to run it through the system. All right, pop it back up. Okay, now over to the left rear. Okay, so we should have the same thing here. A bunch of air at first, and old fluid. Give her a few whacks. And do the pedal again. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, that's done. Tighten this back up. And now we'll do the outside one. Oh, and while I'm in here, since I just changed all of the lines, I'm going to make sure that I inspect them all carefully to make sure that there are no leaks around them, of course. Okay, so you get the idea now. On to the front right. Okay, it was the same thing on the front left. After a couple of them, I emptied this out just to make sure there was enough room in here, and got a little bit more than a full bottle out of the system. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna relieve the pressure from here again, like we did before. Just unscrew this slowly until it starts to come out. And all the fluid will backflow through here. Then we can go ahead and unscrew our cap up here. And make sure we let all of our fluid drain back in here. Now you should clean the lines and the container with denatured alcohol according to the directions so that these lines don't get all dirty and crack. Also because brake fluid attracts water and becomes really bad. So if you just let it sit out here exposed, it's going to be full of water, and then you're going to have really bad brake fluid that you're pumping into your system next time. Okay, next we just want to make sure we clean up around here. I don't think anything really spilled, but we can see that we have fluid in here, and it is right up to the max line, so we actually don't need to add any more. Sometimes you might need to top it off a little, and actually normally I like to leave it under the max line a little bit, especially if you're going to track the car, because when it heats up it's going to expand some and you don't want it expanding out of here. All right, next you're going to put your filter back in and put the cap on, and you will be done. I'm going to leave my filter out because obviously it needs a new one, and all it really does is protect stuff from coming in when you're filling it, and I'm not going to be filling it until I get a new one. So make sure this is nice and snug, and you're all done. Now, before I go around driving this thing like a crazy man, I am of course going to drive it slowly around the neighborhood, use the brakes a lot, try to kick in some ABS in a controlled setting to get it pushed all the way through the system, make sure there are no more air bubbles in here. And probably what you should do, what I will probably do, is go ahead and bleed it a second time, since I know that there was so much air in the system originally. Run through the same process all over again. Make sure all of that old fluid is out and all of the air is the most important part. I found this to be a really cool project, not too difficult, except for the really difficult lines to get off. That was hard. I would highly recommend, if you're starting this from the beginning and doing all three parts like I did, to look at your car first, if it is a 98 like mine, or around there, and the brake lines look really rough, I would go ahead and order that small piece you can see on the last video with the stainless steel lines in advance, and just replace it. Use a new one. They're not that expensive. It was $60 for two of them and the brackets. Well, that doesn't sound really cheap, but trust me, if you need them, it will be so nice to have them, and you won't have to go through what I did, waiting for like an extra week. And it was a million times easier to work with those, to get them reattached, be confident that they're not gonna leak and that they're not gonna strip. Just having them was really helpful. So hopefully this video was helpful for you. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. I will have another project for you shortly, I'm sure. Because I never got to get the wheels and everything back on after painting the calipers for that video, I just wanted to go ahead and show you the after on these. So I was very happy with how they came out. Much better.